Some students of the Half Asnes Senior High School on parade at Newtown in the Western region where the event was held. The Ghana Boundary Commission has been engaged in reaffirmation exercise to replace destroyed boundary pillars with Togo. The joint reaffirmation exercise to replace all destroyed boundary pillars with Ghana's western neighbors Cote d'Ivoire will begin this week. Speaking at the joint sensitization program, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, said a joint inspection of the international maritime boundary with Cote d'Ivoire would take place in March. He says a lighthouse will be constructed in the area to align with the land boundary terminus, which serves as a guide for the maritime boundary between the two countries.
An important point, the ITLUS gave a ruling, and between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, we have decided to come out with a work plan on how we are going to implement the ITLUS ruling. One of the things that we will be doing will be future joint maritime boundary inspections. Today, we have had only the Ghana team doing an inspection, and that is ship, Ghana Navy ship with Ghana boundary personnel on the ship there. They started this exercise yesterday. We are appealing to Cote d'Ivoire that next year, March, the Cote d'Ivoire Navy should come and we will have a joint inspection on our maritime boundary. Going further, we would also be conducting, as I mentioned, another inspection in March. The first inspection was organized in April this year. Future joint inspections with Cote d'Ivoire would help the collaboration and cooperation that we have been seeking over the years. And let me use this opportunity once again to thank the government and people of Cote d'Ivoire for their cooperation so far as the implementation of the ITLUS is concerned.
Major General Emmanuel Kocha says the team engaged in the boundary reaffirmation exercise will be introducing new types of pillars which are different from what were used in the colonial era.
What are the reasons for reaffirmation? One of the main reasons why we are doing this reaffirmation is that along the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire land boundary, we might have a lot of pillars that have been removed or tempered. Some of these pillars also, especially those along the sea, may have been covered by sand dunes or sand in that regard. The distances between the pillars when they were being constructed during the colonial period were very long. For that matter, we need to address that challenge that we have identified. There are also these issues have also led to the unidentifiable boundary land because of the distances. So the local population along the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire boundary, they are not able to identify where the boundary line is. So as for this matter, we are doing the reaffirmation, and then we are carrying out the construction of the pillars so that they will be able to identify. In this regard, we will be introducing some new types of pillars. First of all, the main pillars will not be like the colonial type of pillars. There will be new type of pillars that the technical teams will decide and agree. We will also be introducing intermediary pillars. Apart from intermediary pillars, we will be introducing border crossing pillars. Where there is a border post, there will be a pillar there that will guide the Ghana Immigration Service of where the boundary location is.
Western Regional Minister Kwabena Otrida says the replacement of the boundary pillars or reaffirmation exercise contributes to regional peace and stability.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the next few weeks, we are tasked with the crucial responsibility of reaffirming our land and maritime boundaries along the western frontier. From boundary terminus pillar 55. In fact, pillar 55 in Newtown is a very popular boundary point, a very popular pillar. So if you are in Newtown, you should know that one of your historic assets.
Well, so that's a bit of a teaser, if you like. The Ghana Boundary Commission will start reaffirmation exercises this week to replace destroyed boundary pillars between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. It's the first joint sensitization and reaffirmation exercise between the two neighbors. And of course, that was what Maxwell Agbagba, my colleague, was sharing with us a short while ago. Joining us now is the National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning. Good morning to your viewers. And once again, happy to speak to you.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to speak to my fiery former lecturer. He kept us on our toes, no doubt about that. Anyone who knows him would know that. But starting off with, quite a lot has been done since you took over as the national coordinator. This first mentorship program, that workshop, that the Ghana Boundary Commission organized this week for some sectors of the Southern Belt. Walk us through why exactly it was necessary to go on this trajectory.
Good morning once again. Now, the African Union and implementing partners of GIZ under the African Union Boundary Border Program have realized that there are a number of countries that have established boundary commissions, whilst most of the countries in the southern part of Africa have not established, and also some countries in the eastern part and northern part of Africa. So a program has been adopted that those who have well-established boundary commissions should assess these countries. So the African Union Boundary Program, in conjunction with GIZ, put on a program for the first time. They asked us to host an experience sharing workshop, which we organized in Accra from Monday the 20th to Wednesday the 22nd. And they brought all the Southern African countries, and in addition, they added Ethiopia, which did not have a boundary commission. Now, clearly, the overall objective of the workshop was to contribute to the strengthening of the capacities of boundary commissions for decision-making and for border and boundary governance, and to also assist them to establish infrastructures to be able to organize their boundary commissions in their respective countries.
And these are interesting dynamics. I know the likes of South Africa itself, Kenya, among others, are tapping into this. And we find ourselves in some good position to be able to lend them knowledge. I'm just hoping that it will not turn out like it usually does, where we are the forebears and before you realize, we end up behind. But you would also look at some of the disputes across the different sub-regions on the continent and note that, yes, border issues are crucial, pivotal in our dynamics. Which brings me to the point of what's the key findings or outcomes of this entire workshop or dialogue were, as far as, these countries coming together to learn from us?
Now, interesting findings came out. But before then, let me mention that there were various subjects that were discussed, and one of the subjects that came up was mechanisms of setting up the frameworks for national boundary commissions. And if you look at the mechanisms include having legal framework. Most of the countries don't have a dedicated law like we have, an act of parliament that establishes it. The Nigerians have an act of parliament that establishes it. So that is the beginning of it. So most of them agree that they need to carry that first, and they need their political actors to understand the dynamism and where to start from. The other issue is that, the issue of boundaries, especially international boundaries on the maritime and land front, it's more of international. So there is a need for the collaboration with the various ministries of the states should collaborate with their various ministries of foreign affairs. We have been doing very well. So we had a slot for a director from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to lead a discussion on the relationship between foreign affairs and boundary commissions. And the outcome in that respect was also very interesting. And they got to know that there is a relation. The start point is for them to even have that relationship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, apart from the legal frameworks and various aspects that they need to set up. The other aspect was we had them educated on geometrics and survey on land and maritime boundaries. And let me mention especially on geometrics. It's very interesting that so many people do not understand the laws and mechanism that is associated with maritime boundaries. So there was the need for them to be brought up in that dynamic because they are there, but they don't understand those dynamics. And it was very insightful. So they have agreed that there are a number of conferences that each country, state parties are supposed to attend at the UN level, at various international forums. And we came out with those ideas, and I told them that the experiences Ghana we have really had so far as attending these conferences were concerned. Another interesting dimension was gender mainstreaming along boundary commissions. Now, we realize that most of the people that you'll be dealing with along the borders, especially the deprived communities, you have a lot of women and children who are really in that category. There was a need for them to be updated in that circumstance and for them to come out with strategies so far as cross-border cooperation is concerned. Then the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation was also another tender feature. So we had a representative for African Union who came and gave highlights of it and the need for all the countries to associate themselves. But one of the key highlights was that there was a need for African Union and ECOWAS to bring this topical issue for a head of states meeting, discussion at the head of states level, so that the importance of boundary commissions will be highlighted. The second thing is that there was a need for regional workshops, just like what we have had, to update various countries and to encourage other countries to establish the boundary commission, because that is the best way or the easiest way for us preventing conflict along our boundaries and creating stability within our various countries.
Interesting dynamics you have shared, but there was also this reaffirmation exercise to ensure that our boundaries are in place where they ought to be. I remember the last time we had a conversation, there was also talk about sometimes the boundaries being inadvertently removed. What is the status of that?
Yeah, so we've been doing reaffirmation with Togo over the time. Now, for Togo, we have even got to the third phase. We'll be able to do a reaffirmation for about 200 kilometers along the Ghana-Togo boundary. Now, this is the very first time that the Ivorians have come on board. And in the first phase that we are going to conduct the reaffirmation, we're going to do about 50 kilometers up and then extend to 150 kilometers. But the issue about Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire is very significant, and especially from the start point, Newtown, because there was an ITLOS ruling on the maritime boundary between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
Right.
So the pillar that established that ruling is pillar 55 that is located at Newtown in the Western region. So what we decided was that we would start the reaffirmation from that land because we realized that most of the pillars are not visible there. Some have been removed. So we agreed with the Ivorians and we had this sensitization yesterday. So the sensitization we completed the sensitization yesterday, and then even though it's an ongoing process, but the technical teams are going to be on the ground to do a reaffirmation. We are hoping that in January next year, we're going to start constructing new pillars. Now at Newtown, we are going to construct a monument, and then we would also have some other structures that would redirect this. Our appeal is that we need to work vigorously on that. We need a lot of funding to be able to do it. Currently, the German government, using its implementing agency, the GIZ, is sponsoring all these activities at the eastern side and the western side. Now, this is a novelty between we and Cote d'Ivoire, and we are hoping that we'll be able to carry them along and we will cooperate for us to be able to carry on this exercise. Remember that Ghana shares a 713-kilometer length of land boundary with Cote d'Ivoire, including rivers and streams on that front.
Now, we also know that your team, the National Boundary Commission, has been collaborating with the Ghana Navy, checking out those very borders you've been speaking of, our maritime borders, and trying to find out whether there have been any encroachments as far as the Ivorian side is concerned. What did you discover?
Yeah, so the first time we went on sea to do this inspection was in April this year, in collaboration with the Navy, using maritime drones. And then they went along the maritime boundary just to find out whether they were any interference. There were no interference. Just that we have some few challenges with the oil exploration companies, which we'll be handling at our level with the Ministry of Energy. The second one was organized, started on the 22nd. So yesterday, they were on view during the sensitization for both the Ivorians and the local population to see what was being conducted. So the ship came along the coastline for them to say. So that was the second time we're doing that inspection. Since the ruling in 2017, no inspection has been conducted. We are going to, our aim is that, and from the plan of action that we have, is to conduct this inspection twice a year on the Western Front. Now, what we have said is that the Ivorians, we're encouraging the Ivorians to join us on the joint inspection. And that builds a lot of confidence along the maritime boundary since both countries have agreed. And the Ivorians they are very positive of joining us in the program in March next year. So we'll continue to collaborate with them so that we will step up this inspection as a joint inspection, the Ivorian Navy and the Boundary Commission and the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Boundary Commission. This was done at the initiative of the Ghana Boundary Commission, and we think that that is a positive way we should approach this.
So if I were to ask you to conclude the conversation, what is the state? How protected are Ghana's boundaries on the land front, on the maritime front? These are crucial to us. And going forward, even before March next year, when you hope to have these interactions with the Ivorian side, what can we expect from the Boundary Commission? What would you say, sir?
I've always mentioned that, and I believe that I mentioned this in your class before, that one of the characteristics of the state is to have a defined territory. Now, one of the key functions of the Ghana Boundary Commissions, as spelled out by a law, is to define, demarcate, delimitate, and reaffirm our international boundaries, whether at the maritime level or by sea. So the key thing is that the Ghana Boundary Commission is a very relevant body that one can, an indispensable body that one cannot dispute with. So without the Ghana Boundary Commission, it means that we cannot be able to define our states. So one key thing we are doing is that we will continue on our inspections. We'll continue to use the boundaries of Ghana, to identify the boundaries of Ghana, sustain our boundaries so that the state, the territorial sovereignty of the state will be clearly defined at any time. And we will also encourage the security forces to get themselves involved. We will educate them on land and maritime boundaries so that when they are on the sea, like the Navy, or they are on the land, nobody will stray. The local population is key, and that is why the sensitization is taking place. Most of them really do not know where the boundaries are. So if you go along the Ghana-Togo boundary, you see people straying, farming in Ghana or Togo, people building houses. It is no fault of theirs, because the lines are not clearly defined. With the introduction of intermediate boundaries, with the introduction of border pillars, border crossing pillars, and other mechanisms that we are going to have, digitalization of our boundary pillars and our boundary lines, I believe that the Ghana Boundary Commission stands tall to be able to support government's efforts, not only Ghana, but of our neighboring countries, to have the stability that we require along our maritime boundaries. In addition to supporting the pride population along the boundaries, we have started some exercise where currently we are rehabilitating a health clinic at one of the boundary commissions, and we are also going to build a school building for Newtown, the Newtown where we went yesterday. Additionally, we have initiated, and government has given us funding for us to construct a road opening up to Dollar Power, where the 48th Engineer Regiment are doing, and Sapelga. So we're using the advantage to also create border inspection routes, so closer to the borders, so that when we could then drive and identify whether the boundary places have been moved, tempered, or there are any problems with them. So you can be rest assured that the Ghana Boundary Commission, going forward from next year, we're going to engage Burkina Faso, and we're going to start a similar exercise in the north.
Well, I think we'll still have the conversation here, but thank you so much, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, for joining the conversation and, in fact, educating us on what you've been doing and what we can expect moving forward. I've always been curious, though, our airspace, does that also fall under your jurisdiction, or is that left to the Air Force?
Yes, so the air boundary is coming to a new, it's going to be stated in the new act, but it is part of the work of the boundary commission. When there are air boundary disputes, it is the boundary commission that will intervene to resolve it between a neighboring country. And that is a more complicated aspect. So in the new act that is currently with Parliament, it is going to be inserted, including internal settling disputes within our internal domain, electoral or district boundaries. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for engaging us. Major General Kotia, Emmanuel Kotia, is the National Coordinator, National Boundary Commission.